Hey everyone, I'm Sarah, a 25-year-old nurse living with my parents and my older brother, Mark, in our family home. I work hard at the local hospital, pulling long shifts and even helping out with the bills. I thought we were one big happy family. But wow, was I wrong. Sarah, honey, can you grab some groceries on your way home? Mom would always ask. And like the dutiful daughter, I'd reply, sure, no problem. Meanwhile, Mark would stroll in empty-handed, and they'd be all, oh, Mark, you must be so tired from your important job. My best friend, Lisa, kept trying to make me see the truth. Sarah, don't you see how they treat you differently? She'd say. But I'd brush it off. Come on, Lisa. They're my family. They love me. Then I met Alex, a super sweet teacher, and we hit it off right away. He started noticing things too. Sarah, I don't want to overstep, but doesn't it seem like your parents favor Mark? He asked one day. I laughed it off, but deep down, it hurt a little. Things got strange when Mark dropped some big news. Emma and I are having a baby, he announced at dinner. You'd think he cured cancer or something. The way Mom and Dad reacted. They went nuts, planning baby showers and talking about cribs. This calls for a celebration. Dad cheered, popping open the fancy champagne they never touched. I tried to be happy for him, but something felt off. Why weren't they this excited when I graduated from nursing school? One night, I overheard Mom and Dad talking in hushed tones. We can't keep this up, Mom whispered. The bills are piling up. I thought, hey, I can help more, so I approached them the next day. Hey, I couldn't help overhearing. I can pitch in more if you need, I offered. Dad waved me off. No, sweetie, everything's fine. Don't worry your pretty little head. But their smiles didn't reach their eyes. I knew something was up. Little did I know, they were planning something that would turn my world upside down. If I'd known then what I know now, I would have packed my bags that very night. So there I was, dragging myself home after a grueling 12-hour shift at the hospital. My feet were aching, and all I wanted was to collapse into bed. But when I got to the front door, my key wouldn't work. I thought I was losing my mind. What the heck? I muttered, jiggling the handle. No luck. I called Mom and Dad, but it went straight to voicemail. Weird, right? They always pick up. I started to freak out a little, so I called Alex. Hey, something's wrong. Can you come over? Alex showed up in record time, and we sat on the porch for hours, waiting for someone to show up. I was getting more anxious by the minute. Maybe they're just out and forgot to tell you they changed the locks, Alex suggested, trying to calm me down. Finally, Mark rolled up in his fancy car, looking smug. Well, if it isn't little sis, he smirked. Mark, what's going on? Why are the locks changed? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He leaned against his car, all smug. Oh, didn't Mom and Dad tell you? They decided to turn your room into a nursery for my baby. Surprise. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. What? No way. Where's all my stuff? Storage unit across town. Don't worry, it's all boxed up nice and neat, he said, like he was doing me a favor. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This has to be a joke, right, Mark? Come on. Just then, Mom and Dad pulled up. I ran to them, hoping for some sanity. Mom, Dad, please tell me this isn't true. Dad looked uncomfortable, but Mom just sighed. Sarah, honey, we thought it was time for you to spread your wings. You're an adult now. Spread my wings. You're kicking me out. Now, Dad chimed in. It's for the greater good of the family. Mark's baby needs a proper nursery. I was stunned. And what about me? Where am I supposed to go? Mom patted my arm. You're a smart girl. You'll figure it out. I looked at Alex, tears streaming down my face. He stepped forward. She can stay with me for now. As we packed up my car with a few things I had on me, I couldn't stop shaking. My own family had just tossed me out like yesterday's trash. I can't believe this is happening, I whispered to Alex as we drove away. He squeezed my hand. We'll figure this out, Sarah. I promise. But as we headed to his place, all I could think was, how could they do this to me, my own family? The people I trusted most in the world had betrayed me in the worst way possible. But let me tell you, this was just the beginning of the storm that was about to hit them. After crashing at Alex's place for a few days, I decided it was time to stop moping and start fighting back. I mean, what they did couldn't be legal, right? I dove into researching tenant rights, hitting the internet hard. and turns out I was onto something. I called up Lisa. Lisa, you won't believe this. What they did is totally illegal. I told you they were shady. What are you going to do? I'm going to need your help. We're going detective mode. Lisa and I started digging deep into my family's finances, and what we found made my blood boil. Holy cow, Sarah, look at this. Lisa gasped, pointing at her laptop screen. They've been using your name to open credit cards. I felt sick. Are you kidding me? How long has this been going on? We traced it back years. They'd been playing me for a fool all this time. I immediately called a lawyer, Mr. Johnson. He didn't sugarcoat it. Miss Sarah, what they've done is highly illegal. You've got a strong case for both illegal eviction and identity theft. I nodded, determined. What do I need to do? Gather every piece of evidence you can, bank statements, credit reports, anything that shows their misuse of your identity. I was on it like white on rice. I collected everything, even recorded some conversations with my so-called family where they basically admitted what they'd done. But I wasn't done yet. I needed to know what they were saying behind my back, so I got creative. Alex, I need your help with something crazy, I said one night. What's the plan? He asked, not even hesitating. We snuck into my old house when everyone was out and set up hidden cameras in my old room. Now the precious nursery. The things I heard, man, it was like a knife to the heart. Good riddance to Sarah, I heard Mark say. Now we can really cash in on those credit cards. Mom laughed. She was always so gullible, never questioned a thing. I was seeing red, but I kept my cool. This was gold for my case. I decided to reach out to my extended family. Aunt Carol was the first call. Aunt Carol, you're not going to believe what's been happening. I spilled everything. She was horrified. Sarah, honey, that's awful. What can we do to help? One by one, I called my relatives. They were all shocked, all supportive. It felt good to know not everyone in my family was rotten to the core. As I gathered more evidence, recorded more conversations, and built my case, I felt stronger every day. They thought they could walk all over me, but they had no idea what was coming. Alex, I said one night, looking at the mountain of evidence we collected, I think it's time to drop the hammer. He smiled, squeezing my hand. I'm with you all the way, Sarah. Let's show them what happens when they mess with the wrong nurse. I nodded, a fire burning in my eyes. Revenge was coming, and it was going to be sweet. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was about to go down. The police station loomed before me, a concrete fortress of justice. With my stack of evidence tucked under my arm, I pushed through the doors. I'd like to file a report for identity theft and illegal eviction. I told the officer at the desk, my voice steady despite the nerves churning in my stomach. The cop raised an eyebrow. That's some heavy stuff. You got proof? I nodded, dropping the pile of documents on his desk. Oh, I've got proof, all right. Bank statements, recorded conversations, the whole 9 yards. As the officer flipped through the pages, his eyes widened. Holy, he muttered under his breath. This is your family. Unfortunately, I replied, a bitter taste in my mouth. The next few hours were a blur of questions, statements, and more paperwork than I'd ever seen in my life. But when I walked out of that station, a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. The wheels of justice were finally turning. Days passed in a haze of anticipation, and then, out of the blue, my phone blew up with notifications. It seems the cops had made their move, freezing my parents' and Mark's assets faster than you could say, karma's But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I sent out invites for a family gathering, making it sound all warm and fuzzy. Aunts, uncles, cousins, the whole damn clan was going to be there. And boy, were they in for a surprise. The day arrived, and I watched as they all filtered into the house. Clueless smiles plastered on their faces. My parents and Mark looked particularly smug, probably thinking they'd gotten away with everything. I waited until everyone had settled in before dropping the bomb. So I bet you're all wondering why I called this little shindig. I began, my voice ringing out across the suddenly quiet room. Well, buckle up, because it's story time. I hit play on the recorder, and the room filled with the sound of my family's greed and betrayal. Gasps echoed around me as I laid up document after document, exposing every dirty detail of their scheme. You see, I continued, my eyes locked on my parents and Mark. These fine folks decided to steal my identity, rack up a mountain of debt in my name, and then kick me out of my own house. Cool, right? The silence was deafening, and then all hell broke loose. How could you? My aunt shrieked at my mom. I can't believe this, my cousin muttered, shaking his head in disgust. But the best reaction came from Emma, Mark's wife. She stood up, her face a mask of fury and betrayal. You son of a, she spat at Mark. I want a divorce. As Emma stormed out, slamming the door behind her, I couldn't help but smile. But I couldn't help but feel a twisted sense of satisfaction. The house of cards was finally tumbling down. When the day of reckoning arrived, the courtroom was packed. I sat in the front row, watching as my parents and Mark were led in, looking small and pathetic in their orange jumpsuits. The judge, a stern-faced woman with piercing eyes, glared down at them from her bench. How do you plead? She asked. They mumbled their guilty pleas, unable to meet anyone's gaze. I've seen a lot of despicable things in my time, the judge began, her voice dripping with contempt. But this takes the cake. To betray your own flesh and blood for personal gain, it's beyond comprehension. She sentenced them to jail time, not as much as I'd hoped, but enough to make them sweat. Plus, they were ordered to pay back every cent they'd stolen from me. As they were led away, Mark caught my eye. For a second, I thought I saw a flicker of remorse. But then it was gone, replaced by the same old arrogance. Some people never change. With the trial over, I finally had a chance to breathe. The house, which had been a source of so much pain, was now mine. Turns out all those years of rent I'd been paying amounted to a pretty significant stake in the property. But I couldn't stay there, too many bad memories. So I decided to sell it and use the money to start fresh. A few weeks later, I was unpacking boxes in my new apartment. It wasn't much, but it was mine. No strings attached, no manipulative family members lurking around every corner. To new beginnings, Alex said, raising a beer bottle. And to karma, Lisa added with a grin. I clinked my bottle against theirs, a smile spreading across my face. To freedom. As we laughed and joked, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Pure, unadulterated happiness. Sure, my family was behind bars, and I had to rebuild my life from scratch. But standing there, surrounded by true friends and free from the weight of lies and manipulation, I knew I'd made the right choice. Life's funny like that. Sometimes you've got to lose everything to gain something even better. And me? I gained myself back, and that's worth more than any house or family fortune. And that's where Sarah's story ends, folks. Now, I've got a question for you that might spark some debate. Do you think Sarah was justified in exposing her family's actions publicly, or should she have handled it more privately? What would you have done in her shoes? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear your take on this. If you enjoyed this wild ride, why not hit that like button? And hey, if you want more stories like this, consider subscribing to the channel.